Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Sri Moji Baba ki Jai. So sometimes we may have this idea that we come to Satsang to get some sort of a completion in our life because we need to balance our life between the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, all of these things. But actually, it is not for that. Not here to add value to your life. Then what am I here to do? So, if I'm here to do something at all, it is to point you to the same discovery that I have had about myself, which is to see that the way of the head, where I used to take myself to be an individual entity, a separate one, living in the world. And I realized one day through my master's grace, a false way to live. And that recognition or realization was not based on something I really thought about. I did think about it a lot, but the outcome was not a thought. So what I found in terms of the self was not something that I could ever think about. Neither was it something that I saw or perceived. So this is important to start us off. So my master showed me a different way. Like most of the world, I was trying to solve my life. I was trying to perceive God, and I was looking for some ultimate experience, which I thought will be the self. But what I discovered instead is that I've been relying on the wrong instruments. But I could not see God with worldly eyes. I could not find God through phenomenal mechanisms. And this discovery of heart knowledge, of self-knowledge, which is available to all of us, is in a way what satsang is for. So in our head, we may have all these categories and say, now I come to satsang once a week so that I balance out my life. Really, and if this is what your video and audio keeps interrupting, how is it now? Not so good? It's good. So let's see how it goes. Okay. So this insight, and built on top of this insight, on the foundation of this insight, a life to be built on top of this is what we call in the world freedom. You cannot build this on the false foundation of what you take yourself to be, because that is ever changing. You cannot even base this on what you think you want, because that is also constantly changing. You can only base your life on the intuitive insight of the truths. And that is the meaning of satsang, to come to the company of the truth. At the cost of every idea that the mind may have about our life. So you are going to struggle if you are trying to value both things. If you're going to try and value something which is ephemeral, which is changeful, and you're going to try and value the self, then you're going to struggle. Because that push and pull will be too much. So in that way, satsang also serves as a friendly environment for you to settle into your heart, a safe space to allow you to settle, because in the way of the world, sometimes it can seem too oppressive for this um, tender calling from within the heart. So the first question that we must remove then is what we think we want. Whatever you think you want, don't want that. It's not a active aversion. It's not an active not wanting. So you're not flipping a desire into an aversion. You're not going from desire to renunciation or something like that. You're just moving to an empty space. Like you're sitting in a room full of desires and wants and expectations and ideas, all of these things. So for a moment, you're just stepping out of that room, which is empty, which is spacious, which is not resisting or desiring anything. All of you can find that room within your heart. Remember, we did not say clean up the mind. We're not saying do anything over there. But I'm introducing you to a different room in your house, which you rarely visit. So your former friends in the previous room may call out to you and say, come, come, come. We're almost there. You can't leave now. And they may say, what about your children? And what about this? And what about that? What about that email you had to send and the WhatsApp message you had to read? They'll call you in this way. For a while, without any attack or defense, you're just going to sit in the other room. It's quite nice here. There's no struggle of doership, of desire. There is no you that you can really even point to as a shape sitting in this room. Your Atma's presence, the presence of your being, is so palpable, is so tangible here. Although it is not palpable through traditional means of seeing the world. That you are aware is heart knowledge that you have only in this room. And there is no way you can pull this in back to the room of the mind. It is just apparent to you here. And if it is apparent to you, you're in the right place. So it works both ways. You can hang on to this and not have any concern about leaving from here. And this apparency of self-knowledge also confirms to you that you are not fooling yourself. So the doubt which may come in the head saying, are you even doing this right? Yes, because you are aware. Now this new place, you are not taking on a short-term arrangement. You're organizing so that you live here forever. The fragrance of this house, of this room, may already be palpable for you. It's a very different way of life. Notice that I have not said anything about what to do with the body and where your hand should be or your feet should be. It doesn't matter. You can stay in this room independent of whatever is happening in the perceivable world, in the phenomenal world. This is the only place where anything of value, all of God's gifts are realized and recognized. Love, presence, truth, peace. Is only found here. Now all you have to do is be vigilant or guard yourself from the magnetism of the friends, the so-called friends in the other room. The party that is happening in the other room is meant to distract you. It's meant to get you to avoid your truth. And what's even worse is that when you accept the invitation to visit that room, feeling that you're well established in the heart, then when you enter the room, you will be bashed up form your seeming friends in that room with notions of guilt. You shouldn't have come here. You know better. So the same inviter then throws you the two punch in the combination of 1-2 punch combination, saying, "What are you doing here? Don't you see how bad this is for you? You don't have to indulge. You don't have to convince. You just have to step back in your heart." This is the true meaning of retreat. So the minute all this starts happening around you, know it is time to retreat. Retreat back in your heart. So this is the beauty of the way of the heart. That here self-knowledge is apparent. That which seemed an unachievable goal only for the rare ones is now so normally available to us. And all that has to be tasted in the manifest, all that can be enjoyed from a true place in the manifest experience is also only available here. In the absence of grasping, craving, and desire. Only here, for the first time, will you truly see the world. You may never have noticed even the light around you, but only in the light of your presence will you start to notice. Now, how can you balance this? What is the need to balance this? This is the Supreme Intelligence. This is God's light. And in God's light, you don't need to ever figure anything out. And that, for a little while, may seem like it is a sacrifice. You may believe that you want to apply yourself in that way to make progress in your life. That is just the call from the mind. In your heart, all you have to do is, or whatever you think is left of you, all you have to do is follow your heart. So don't fall for the trick that it's only for spiritual things that I can go to my heart. I can ask the Sadguru presence within me, this beingness within me, only for guidance about spiritual things. But for practical matters, I have to return back. This is not true. Between the two, the one that provides the intelligence for this world to function is by every parameter the better guide for us to follow. So don't get frustrated too soon. And in Guruji's words, don't even celebrate too soon. But if you find that your mind is insisting that you need some guidance about something, but your heart is silent, you have to first learn to trust this silence. It is not that you are not understanding, because in every moment, every instant in the heart, all that is uncreated and created is already apparent to you. But that does not mean that you will be able to use it personally or you'll even have the words to express it. So don't rush. So never leave this room. And when you do, then just come back. Trust the silence, and then as it is God's will, and when it is God's will, then you may start hearing guidance in a tangible according to the world form as well. And when you do receive it, then follow it unwaveringly. Till then, remain in silence and let your hands and feet and mouth be taken care of by this very presence. As the presence is palpable, you are not going wrong. Rest in that understanding, rest in that reassurance. In God's presence, there is no such thing as wrong. So now life has become very simple, and learn to trust this simplicity. It is super simple because for all of you, God's presence is available. The light is palpable. Now, the only thing that will get in your way are your imagined desires, your individual will. The mind will come and scare you and say, but if you live like this, are you sure? Are you sure that you won't become a beggar on the streets? Are you sure that God may not one day demand a big sacrifice, which may seem like a big sacrifice? So this fear, these doubts will come. And all the pointers in Satsang, all the inquiry in Satsang, all the prayers, everything is the antidote to this. The attraction of these doubts to pull you back into the force field of the mind, into the room of the mind. So this is basically the outline of the spiritual project. This is what the attempt is. It is not to help me. It is not to make life better. In fact, it is surrendering to the extent of, even if life seems to get worse, if in God's light what I take my life to be and how I judge my life to be gets worse, then so be it. So, spirituality is not about you, it is about God. If you just get that much, this satsang is worth it. You are not at the center of this game. The false you, definitely not at the center of this game. So all that is being shared here is for God, with no way for the me to get better using it. So that which we may have defined in very simple terms actually is the fireplace for the false me to burn itself. What do you need to burn? That call which you get from the other room. He says, come, come, this you have to take care of. The rest your heart can do. There is no project greater than this project. There is no juggling possible between the way of the head and the way of the heart. So, for a while, it will seem like utter humility is required. Utter humility is required. The minute we start to take ourselves to be something, we're back in the wrong place. And most importantly, don't try to squeeze any of this into your head. Don't try to make the new room inside the old one, because that is going to be the worst form of ego, which is the spiritual ego. If you try to make God part of your existing understanding, God subservient to your perceptions of spiritual experiences, that is oxygen to your spiritual ego. So return to complete humility. In Zen, they would call it a beginner's mind. Stay in beginner's mind, which is not to stay in mind at all. Just nothing. What have you done? Nothing. How far have you come? Nowhere. How far do you have to go? Don't know. So this then becomes your shield against any aspect of the ego which will take the biggest gift away from you. While under the hypnosis that you are riding the horse of the greatest gift ever, what is being shared with you, the plant next to me already knows this. And nothing so great about what we are doing. So in this fireplace of complete acceptance of God's will, is a complete act of faith which is not reasonable. In this fireplace, you will burn, if that is truly your longing to be with God, you will burn every piece of wood which your mind offers to you. That is why I said that as you begin to be guided in this way, then you have to follow it unwaveringly. And this will oppose any idea of individual will that you have. So, in this way, completely contrary to what your mind may believe at this point, this obedience to God's will is complete freedom. And your head will not fathom this. Because in the head, freedom means to be able to do whatever the head wants. To have a God dictated life to the head seems like an oppressive life. But actually, it is not. It is freedom from the oppression of the divider, of the separator, of the dualist. It is freedom from that oppression, which for some time will feel like an oppressive existence to follow your intuition. But already you can see the absurdity in it. If you had two intelligences on offer on which you could live your life, then you would pick the greater one, not the lesser. So this brings me to an important point, which is that as you're being guided in this and in satsang and as you're with your heart, then don't try to value add with your head stuff. Don't say, oh, my heart says, just be open. But that it doesn't work for me. I feel like what works, is something, I don't know, whatever. That's a trick, and you must see the trick by now. If you knew what worked for you, you would not be here. If you knew how you could judge that, you would also not be here. If that knowledge again is coming from the disruptor of your peace, then it is not worth following. One child told me very sweetly, I remember somebody sitting around me the other day said, everything you say, Father, I like to just make it my own in some way and make it original and unique. So I said, stop it. Stop it. Because that's where the distortion can come. So notice that which may seem like a freedom is actually a false individuality and a false will. The feast is already laid out for you. It's been cooked well. What happens if you go to a French restaurant and ask for ketchup? In the same way, you don't have to have uniqueness, originality. There's nothing original. And if you could show me the way with which you can determine how something is better for you or not, then I may say, okay, do it. But you follow the thief's distraction, diversion, and say, I want it only that way. The thief says, go left, you will find me there. You say, Father, help me go left. So it cannot work that way. If you see this trick, it will save you a lot of time. If you see this trick, because the thief does not want to be caught. So it will say, over there, over there. You see, that's where you'll find it. And you say, yes, over there. Who can help me get there? Yes, my master should help. Master says, no, no, no. Keep quiet. I don't like you. You're not helping me. So notice all these subtle tricks. If you learn to, after doing all the due diligence possible in the world, and I'm sure most of you have been here often enough, you've done enough due diligence. After doing all the possible due diligence you could do in the world, you must come to a point where you follow. It is completely laid out for you. Your room is waiting in your heart. The innkeeper is calling you, saying, come. So now is not the time to fool around. Just come. This is how you save yourself, really. So this question the mind deliberately confuses you about, which is how do you really know you're in the heart? How do you know that you're following intuition and not your head? And I've given this answer over and over. I'm sure most of you know. Let me know. Don't ask. What you are is apparent. When what you are is apparent to you. When what you are is apparent to you is foolproof because you cannot fool yourself to such an extent. What you will do many times is you will rush into it and say, yeah, yeah, it's apparent, it's apparent. Now what? Like that, you'll fool yourself in that way. So that is the trick of the mind which tells you there's not enough time. You need to rush. You see, you're getting late for work. And you're saying, oh God, please guide me. Should I take the bus or should I walk to work? And the mind will scream at you saying, you don't have time for that. But you do have time for that. Anything that you feel like you have to go to your head for the decision, you have the time to go to your heart. So let me expand on this a bit because it can be confusing. As you open and empty, as who you are is apparent to you and the presence of God's light is apparent to you, the notion of decision making will reduce anyway. Most of your life will happen just naturally with no idea of individual decision making and doership. But there will still come moments where the mind's notions will seem attractive, saying, you have to decide. You see? Are you going to fly or are you going to take the train? Or are you going to live here or are you going to live there? Are you going to get into this relationship or are you not? Are you going to break up or continue? Are you taking this job or are you not taking this job? So the smallest things to the largest things, the mind will attract you and say, "Come, come, let's figure this out." I want to see it in all of you that if you have time to go to the mind, then you have time to go to the heart. And this is the way in which you will save time, actually. You may save lifetimes. And many lifetimes as a result of that. Like I've been sharing about this moment, I don't know whether in the broadcast also I said, maybe 30 years ago, 25 years ago, one man followed his heart and with his school job and he said, "I quit." He followed his heart that moment, but he could have also followed his mind and said, "No, no, it's a safe job, it's security, you're an artist, what will you do? You will have to be poor in Brixton or something like that." But he followed his heart. And because he followed his heart, all of us are here today. In the same way, Bhagwan as a kid, as a little boy, felt like he's dying. He felt like he's dying. But his heart said, "If I'm dying now, I want to see it." So instead of rushing to mom or to a doctor, he lied down on the bed and said, "I want to see it." If that instant had gone the way of the head, then we would be in a different universe. So follow your heart at all costs. And when you don't, retreat to your heart as soon as you notice that you haven't. This is not cowardice, it is courage. These are all the notions your mind will feed you. So this is true courage to let go of individual will and to follow the guidance from the heart. So don't be tricked into no time for this. Don't be tricked into this is too small for God or this is too much. This I have to decide on my own. Either way, don't be tricked. You don't have to leave this room. It's full service. Full service. At full service to your reality and not to your falseness. So during the time that it feels like I'm sacrificing something to have this way of life, then just go through with it and bear it. Go through with it and bear it because the mind will distract you with propositions even of relief. So many leave the path of satsang, satsang like this um, because they've been asked to inquire. And then someone comes and tells them, "No, no, you don't need to inquire, you're not the doer anyway, forget about it." See, and suddenly you feel a sense of relief saying, "I don't have to inquire. This looks like freedom to me. What was I doing all this time?" See? But trust me, that momentary seeming relief, getting back into the operation of the mind, is very short lived. So don't fall for these tricks. And also be sure that initially, at least, every time you think you want to go left, your heart will say right. So expect that, be open to it at whatever cost. And that is where faith is important. If there was no cost factor, if there was no risk, then faith is only lip service. Then it's just a convenience armchair spirituality, as I've been calling it. I'm in this as long as it doesn't become too hot. The instant it becomes too hot in the kitchen, I run. That is not the kind of spirituality that gets anywhere. If it is getting too hot in the kitchen, then you have to stay. Because all that can be burned is the false. So your pride, your desires, your roadmaps for life, your expectations, others' expectations of you, everything is going to be burnt in the fire of this satsang, the satsang of your heart. And you, what you think you are, will get nothing out of it. It's completely opposite to the self-help type things people are calling satsang in the world. You know, I'm saying that you, whatever you may think you have, even that will be taken. Now, are you ready for the fire or not? And even if one is, then I'm here. So we must break out of this and we must help the world to snap out of this hypnosis of this helping the me type spirituality, which seems to have become predominant. No, if you were asked to give up that which you hold dearest, but in return you got a moment of God, that is the fire with which you should approach this. It is not some airy-fairy, itty-bitty type games. I just try a little bit like this. What are you willing to not risk? At least become fully honest with yourself about that. All this is fine. I will follow Ananta, I will follow Guruji, I will follow Bhagwan, I will follow my intuitive voice, the Sadguru presence in everything except. And initially, because of so much Advaita, we will say, no, it's fine. Everything is fine. You see? But when we make it like right now, if you were to walk out of your life, if you are to step into a completely unrecognizable life, like you have to change planets right now, and you don't know which body you will have, who your neighbors will be, whether it will be too hot over there, whether it is heaven or hell, you don't know. That is what is being asked of you. This is the meaning of die while you are living. You have to die to your false self. Let's go to Karunamani. Let's see what she can ask after this. No. Still not frozen. No.
I'm just taking a bit of time.
No.
What you were sharing is pretty much what I'm aiming as a practice to stay in the heart.
How do you know succeeding or failing? How do you know?
Because sometimes I am and I'm just in my being.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm in my mind.
That's good enough.
And I have this sense that and I have this sense that my mind keeps me away from my beloved.
Your mind keeps you away from what? Sorry, the network is not so good.
From my beloved, from God.
The mind keeps you away. Only if you want something.
Yeah.
So stop it. The mind can be attractive to you if you don't want anything. If you are dead to yourself, then show me how the mind can be attractive.
There is an identity believed in which maybe plays God itself, in the sense that knows what's right and what's wrong and fights in my mind about right.
All that is happening in the other room. You don't visit there.
I am visiting. And it's a bit like hell and heaven.
Yes.
Hell and heaven.
Exactly.
And I still go to hell.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop those visits. What makes you visit them? You have something of value is there still?
I think there is some entertainment of the mind that goes there.
Well, this is the one of the notions, no? That it's a very entertaining hell, so heaven is just too quiet. Who wants to hear all the harps and angels and all? Would rather hear some, electric guitar or something like that.
I don't even like electric guitar. So,
So what is the instrument your mind is playing?
Just ego.
So now what will it take for you to stop? How many more adventures like this?
Some tickets to India, trip to Australia. I don't know.
Huh? Till you go back to Australia? What?
I hope not. uh, uh, I left Kalin School open in Australia to tease me for a couple of months. It was closing nicely, and then I asked, "Oh, but if we decide to return, can we extend the exemption?" And I thought we couldn't. I thought the answer was very clear. And suddenly he got the he got the 1 year exemption from a well reputable school, program
Yes.
where they aim for 95% presence, physical presence.
Mm. Let's aim for 95% presence. The rest will be fine.
It's very. I do want something. It's very hard to live outside Sahaja.
So this
It's not hard physically or anything. It's
face it, then. Face it. Don't hide it. Just face it. You have a particular desire. Your individual will want your life to go a particular way, but that is not how God is playing it out. And in this way, and although it sounds very strange to say, you have to become fully hopeless. If hope means an expression of individual will, then that is not the hope.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. If our idea of hope is that my will be done and not thy will be done, then it's not hope. That is just pride. Because who knows better?
It is pride. It is, and I would manipulate God for this if I can.
But you can't. That's the thing of God. Is it? So this is in moments like this we've moved out of our comfortable spirituality. Because in our comfortable spirituality, we are happy to say things like everything is surrendered to Guruji and everything is surrendered to God's grace and all of that. And in this moment, you see, I know, but everything else but what I want. So that's not a surrender at all then. Because you cannot halfway surrender.
I know. Well, look, even Papaji he knew who he was, and he knew he was Papaji. And didn't want to leave Ramana.
The network is quite bad, so I'm just hearing Papaji, 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 Papaji.
Papaji. I'll try another corner now that Papaji is here.
What Papaji wanted was Bhagwan's problem. Now you're here. I'm telling you. Why you want to make parallels with Papaji now?
I was trying to say that Papaji knew who he was.
You're
And
trying
he
to
was a
justify
Brahmana.
what you want. You're only finding it
I'm trying.
to justify what you want.
I'm negotiating.
Yes.
I'm negotiating.
Negotiating in front of one whose constant attempt is to bow down to the will of God. So, so this negotiation will not be very fruitful. How how do you know that you know better in this case? Then at least embrace that question that you and that seeing that you don't know. Um, I was talking about this the other day. Socrates basically created a lot of trouble by asking people questions like, "How do you know?" and "What is this really? Is this really justice? What is really truth? What is love?" All of these questions he asked. So by the end, the authorities got tired of him and said, "You have to go. It's time to for you to have the poison chalice, and you have to leave this world because you're causing too much trouble here." So then his friend actually, and some of them were friends in high places, they said, "Come, come, we'll actually help you escape. We'll go to this foreign land, nobody will recognize you, and you'll be fine." So Socrates then said, "How do I know between life and death what I'm supposed to pick? And if I don't know, then why should I pick?" And I don't want to reassure you also now and say, "No, no, follow God's will because it is better for you." No, sometimes it will feel like it is burning the hell out of you, which it literally is what it's doing. Are you up for it or no?
I don't have a choice.
If you did, if you did,
I am up for it. I have a choice, but yeah, I, it's not a choice from here. I can always choose something, but I'm not.
so that is my job to remind you of the only choice there is. To give you the courage to make that choice. You know the right choice in your heart is to follow the heart. But your head wants to complain, it wants to negotiate, it wants to make deals. Just leave it.
My head doesn't like the suffering that comes with it.
But you are liking the suffering that comes with your head?
It doesn't like any suffering.
Yeah, but are you liking the suffering the head is causing you?
No.
Drop it.
No.
Drop it. To
Mhm.
live God's presence in circumstances which are completely painful in the mind's interpretation is to live in faith. Otherwise, what is this faith? What faith are we talking about? What surrender? What devotion? You see, when push comes to shove, if we still say my way, then what is the faith? If grace is guiding you, if Guruji is guiding you, if God is guiding you to the most irrational seeming thing to your head, what is the higher intelligence?
Your my internet is probably not so good. So you said if Guruji and God and grace are guiding me.
In a particular way, and your mind is saying, no, no, that is not right. I know better. Who can you trust?
God.
And this is where faith comes in because your head is screaming at you. Your rationality is saying, but how can this be better for me? But to follow in spite of rational ideas, rational seeming ideas, is where faith comes in. So try it my way for a few days. Send me a report. I'm not saying my way or the highway.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Jyotia. Am I too soft? Am I audible enough or it's?
You're audible, I think. Oh, yeah. Hello, Father.
Hello, hello, everyone.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, before you start, can I just take a
Yeah.
moment? Something is coming to me. So
Yes.
the other day, someone came here and we were not in broadcast, but this child was really, her mind was getting clobbered, it was really getting cornered. And I could see the frustration building in her. And of course, it is the most auspicious kind of frustration where the head and heart start to collide and you start recognizing heart's will. But she started crying, and then, of course, this one is also a big softie. So I was saying that actually, as a worldly father, I would say just give the gift to all my children, and even if their mind wants something else, it's fine. Don't worry, indulge them. It's fine. Let them not cry over this. You see? But it's so clear in my heart that this submissiveness of individuality is a prerequisite. We cannot have it both ways. We need God's light to live in God's presence and still have pride is impossible. So I may want to help my children with everything, but this even I cannot do. Please continue.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's just everything you said at the beginning.
Yes.
I feel like you already told me everything that I needed to hear. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like I've been listening to my mind too much lately. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it about some work thing or some particular theme which is there? Or?
Yeah, there's it's like the typical like juggling of lots of things, like a busy
Yes.
life lately, and there's too much of the idea of control and just wanting to be on top of things, and but also there is this decision that I feel that I need to make, and that I have been feeling that way for a few months, and it feels like it's not clear what to do. And well, you talked about this at the beginning. It's not about, I don't even need to know. And it's like you say, when you go to the heart, then even the idea of having to make a decision goes away. It's not so much like, oh, okay, so the heart will tell me like a compass, go here or go there. And I can see that, but it seems like most of the time I cannot see that.
Let's pause here because this is important.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that when we go to the heart, the uh, the need for guidance may always go away. I'm saying most of the time. You see, you may.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last. May always what? Sorry.
I'm not saying that it will always seem like it went away. You see, I'm saying
Okay.
that mostly as we are open and empty and our presence is palpable, then the idea of decision making itself is not there mostly. But when we do need guidance, then we can approach the Sadguru presence within us, you see, with humility and say, I'm fully lost as far as this is concerned. And my mind is calling me with all kinds of solutions. But could you please guide me? Because that is the only guidance I want to follow. So I said that initially, if there is silence, then we trust that silence, which only means that we don't know intellectually what we want. Is it? It
Yeah.
means that we trust the silence and remain in the presence and allow life to unfold. Whichever whatever comes out from that presence naturally is accepted. You see, but there will be times where you will receive clear guidance from the heart, you see, which the mind will try to become noisy and distract you and say, no, 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 this is just your mind talking, you see, all of that. And that's why I've given you the tool, which is to see whether who you are is apparent to you. And as that is apparent to you, if you receive some guidance, then you must follow that unwaveringly. As counterintuitive as it may seem, intuition will seem counterintuitive initially.
Well, I do feel lost, and as to this direction to take, and
Yes. So let's do this together.
yeah.
Do this together. Now, just remain open and allow your true self to be apparent to you. From here, Father, please guide this child if that is your will. And if some words could come for her in terms of the decision that is playing out in her life, then that would be very beautiful and we would be so grateful. Now you just have to be like you're in a real conversation, not a like a fairy tale, hocus pocus, make believe sort of thing. Is it? Feel like God is tangibly with you in your heart. The Guru is tangibly with you in your heart. And then don't censor yourself because your mind will want to censor everything if anything is coming. You see? And don't judge. So allow it to unfold in that way. And if as long as there is silence, then trust the silence. Don't rush. Some answers are best understood in silence itself. But this kind of invoking for guidance must be done with a full faith. That's it. So as long as nothing arises there, then marinate in that silence. Don't decide to act this way or that way. And yet, naturally, in that silence, action can unfold. Or if you find yourself with some intuitive clarity about what guidance is there, then just follow it. Nothing else you have to do. So this now you can no longer call lost, although your mind will. See, this now you call it that you've handed it over to God. Now it's all God's to do. You've done your part. That's the extent to which you can go. That's all.
Yeah. This is the one that the mind usually says that it's too little or it's not enough.
No, this is it. You've done. After this, whether guidance come which is deluded, whether you will mess up your life, whether all of that will happen, is not your business anymore. That needs faith. That needs faith. So you may receive some guidance. You may wake up first thing your heart may speak to you, for example, and say like this, like this, like this. Your mind will say, but that is just going to mess everything up. See, or how do you know this is not the mind? Say, right here.
In the past, when there have been big movements, and then and there has been guidance. The guidance has been so clear that it was very easy to follow, because it was like a direct movement. It was clear. There was no debating. It was okay. Because I could see that it came from myself.
Yes.
Not from some outside something, or not from the mind, but it's not a two thing. It's a one thing. And maybe I'm expecting that type of guidance now, and if I don't receive it, I feel like kind of like at a standstill.
Yes. So there are two aspects to this. One is that in the act of faith, of being in the heart, when life puts us in this condition, where actually life doesn't, but our mind does, where we believe that I have to decide. Okay? Then when we make a humble request to the Guru's presence in our heart, then the first cause of mental frustration could be that I am not receiving an answer. So the antidote to that really is just trust that silence. Whatever direction you could take conceptually based on that, the silence is a better direction, and that's why God is not being unkind or playing hard to get or something. Okay? So He's always there. God's presence is always there with you. So trust that the silence is the best for you. You do not at the moment have the capacity to understand His mystery. So He's allowing that to unfold in that way. And when it is a more auspicious or apt time, then it may reveal itself. You see, but this needs faith. So that is the first deepening of faith, to trust silence as it is guidance. Okay? Trust the silence to be guidance, not a rejection. That is the first point. The second point is that sometimes a guidance may come which may be the opposite of the confirmation that we are looking for. So we are just looking for approval, certification from the higher authority saying the good thing, and the guidance will come, no. He's like, no. And like, what? No.
I feel maybe I'm fooling myself, but I don't feel that way. I really feel that I want to be where God wants me to be.
Yes. So when your being is palpable, when yourself is apparent to you, see, then there's no possibility of fooling. You cannot be fooling yourself like that. See, because the mind has no sway over you. Under mental hypnosis, yourself is not apparent to you. So you're not fooling yourself.
Can you repeat the last thing? Something. Can you
Yes.
say the last thing again?
I was just saying that it's only under the hypnosis of the mind, you see, that the self does not seem apparent to you and your being doesn't seem to be present. So when the being is present, when God's light is present and yourself is apparent to you, there's no way you can fool yourself. And if then you are fooling yourself, then God is fooling you. It's not your problem. You see, it is not your problem anymore, not your business anymore.
What do you mean God is fooling me?
So I'm saying forget about when you are in the apparency of self-knowledge, then you don't have to keep tabs on right or wrong, good or bad. None of that is your business anymore.
No.
You see, fooling, not fooling, right, wrong, good, evil, bad, all this is not your concern because universal intelligence is on the job. You see? So that is the first thing. So when if we receive guidance which is contrary to what your mind wants, then that is also the deepening of faith. Because otherwise, if we're just going to God for approval, then that is not faith. So in both cases, you deepen your faith either by trusting guidance, trusting silence to be the guidance, or trusting that which is contrary to what you would have wanted otherwise to be the guidance.
Is it possible that we feel like, because usually it seems that these things are simple, and this time it doesn't seem that way. And so
It's not going to be simple all the time. Maybe the starting modes were simple. It's not going to be simple all the time because again, I'm being a bit biblical, but it's not simple to get on the cross. And for a moment, even the most obedient son can say, "Father, have you forsaken me?" So don't expect it to be like easy. It is simple, but it's not easy. It's simple only in the sense that you have nothing to do. You could make a request at God's feet, you've done that. You could reiterate that request. You could ring the bell again. But beyond that, there's nothing you can do. So in that way, it is very simple. But the absence of conceptual guidance or to receive guidance in the form of some words which are opposed to what our mind wants, you see, is not always easy.
I don't know what the mind wants. And the reason why I said the simple thing before is because I feel
Yes, I have a sense of that. That it is simple when we don't carry the burden of individuality. It is simple. But obviously, at the crossroads where you're at right now, it seems like you're taking yourself to be something or someone who has to decide. And if there's an ouch, if God says go left, there's an ouch, or if God says go right, there's an ouch, then know that it is the opposite of what you want.
Can you repeat the last thing?
Yes, because you were saying that I don't really know what the mind wants.
Yeah.
So one way is to just say, okay, God, if God said go left,
Yeah.
would that be an ouch there? Would that be an ouch there? Or would go right be an ouch there?
No, I don't feel that way. I feel like just guide me.
Yes,
That's
either,
how I feel.
either are good, like, but the only ouch is when you don't say anything.
The only ouch is when I don't say
When
anything.
God doesn't guide you.
Oh, maybe that's the ouch right now. Yeah,
That's the ouch. If
yeah,
you want to
yeah.
be guided. So if you're
Yes.
not trusting God's silence enough to take that to be guidance,
Yeah, maybe.
that itself can be an ego trip. Like,
Yeah.
what makes you so special that God should talk to you?
And yeah, like I said before, and there have been moments of more openness, and then what I see is I can embrace not knowing. It's happened before that I have completely lost, don't know anything, and I don't know like about
My child.
paths in life.
So this I who can do either embracing the not knowing or wants to know, this is not you.
No.
So shine your light on this one and may it burn in the fire of that light. Because that one has a seed of becoming a spiritual ego. So if God did not guide you for like 30 years, you're still waiting on the same decision for 30 years. You still have faith in God or not? You see how subtle it is? Like, tell me this or tell me that, but tell me. And whose voice is that then? So you'll always find, if you feel like there's some guidance that is needed, then you can always find the ouch.
You're completely zenning me out right now, Father.
Telling you out.
No, zenning,
Zenning it.
zen.
Zenning.
Yeah.
I
Out
mean,
of the bridge.
telling the ego out completely from all its tricks. No? So maybe
Yeah.
this is something. But I'm zenning you out. No, it's very straightforward. Like if you believe that you need some guidance and you say, I'm okay like this, I'm okay like that, you see, then really you don't need guidance. You see? But what you're really saying is that I want to be reassured of something and I want God's reassurance for that. And that wanting also is individual.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at a crossroads and it's time to decide, okay, are you gonna do this? Are you gonna be here? Are you gonna be there? What are you gonna do?
And
Yeah.
what has given you this notion that this is the time to decide? How do you know?
Mind. But before it felt like heart. Now it feels like mind. Yeah.
The heart is never in a rush, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm still saying that if these moments come and we believe that we have to decide something,
Yeah.
we can petition God for guidance. But we must learn to trust the silence as guidance. It teaches us immense patience and faith. And then when guidance comes, then we must not second guess it. We must,
Father, when you say we must trust the silence as guidance,
yes.
is that the same as saying it's okay to not know?
Yes. To understand that in my heart, the answer is received, but the answer is beyond conceptualization, beyond the worldly ideas of left, right, do this, do that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
God's presence contains the complete answer to the universe in one instant. God's presence in the apparency of yourself as awareness, there where you know yourself, everything is always known. But that doesn't mean that that knowledge pops up on the surface and shows up as a wave for us to use personally. This is the way of the heart. And this faith is only deepening in this process. And in a way, these crunch situations are very helpful then. So it is my blessing that even if there is silence in your heart, may your faith only deepen because of that and not get dissuaded by that. So this is very good interaction because this is really rubber hitting road interaction. It is not like a conceptual spirituality and like this and like that.
Feel like painful dissolution.
Yes.
I
And
don't feel like
so many notions getting squeezed in this, like that when we go to God, then our expectation is things become simple, simple. You see, and actually you're seeing that they are simple, simple, but not easy, easy. Our job continues to be very simple, but our acceptance always is not, doesn't seem that easy yet.
what do we need to accept?
Silence to start with. That's why I said learn to accept silence is guidance for the moment. And then accept if something comes as guidance, which you can conceptually say this is the guidance, then even if that is the exact opposite of what we wanted, then to trust that is also acceptance, is also faith. So the acceptance or the faith in the heart, independent of silence and not running back to the mind saying, my heart's got nothing for me. What do you have? God is not guiding me in this. I'll have to come to you. So not rushing back. That is what I mean when I say accept the silence is the answer. Don't rush. Your mind will keep using time to convince you that there is no time to stay in the heart. It will keep using time to tell you that there is no time for you to wait like this. There always is time. Time is in service to God, not the other way around. And in your heart, you already know that soon you will see the grace in all of this. So I know you enough to know that about you, that already that faith is there.
Yeah.
If God's ways were all perceivable and rational, is it? All only perceivable and rational, then we would not need faith, devotion, trust, all these are then just fancy words. And if God operated on a clock, I asked you already 3 minutes ago, why haven't you delivered my pizza yet? So this is very good to meet this with integrity, to meet your mind's provocations and to expose them, and to take them to God, meet many times the silence of God, and to learn to have faith that that is the best answer at the moment. So, if there are two wings to this bird of freedom, one is the wing of insight or jnana, and second is the wing of bhakti or devotion, which mostly I'm referring to the word faith now than delusion. So, I feel like being in satsang this long, most of you, the insight is quite apparent. The insight about who you are is quite apparent. But when the mind pushes you with some of these situations in the world, then it sort of tries to pull you back into itself. And there, your faith will be very helpful as well.
And when you say faith, you mean just trust. Just trust.
Don't expect rationality. Don't expect rationality. Don't expect life to make sense or for you to have sensible answers. And an extreme patience.
An extreme patience.
Patience
Yeah.
is only possible with faith. See, otherwise we get shaken up by the mind's provocation so easily. Oh, this one said this, I have to do this, you're all shaky very easily. So you've done your bit. Now be patient, even if that patience is lifetimes. For the mind, all of this seems completely absurd. It seems like a cop out. Oh, then that's very convenient for God. This is the doubting. This is the doubting Thomas. So, sacrifice your life to God, even if He doesn't answer for the entire life. You have not deluded yourself by going to the mind. And that
Is
is
it possible for God to give guidance and for me to not be able to hear it?
yes, and that is what we're saying. So God is always giving guidance, but we are expecting that guidance to be in the form of a
Yeah.
concept or an answer. That is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Trust the silence as guidance first.
Yeah.
So trust that that is not God's turning away. God can never turn away. You see, God is just waiting for us to turn to Him. So accept that in the greater intelligence of God, silence is the best answer at the moment. You see, that is the first thing. The second thing is when something comes, then your mind will say, no, no, this is just the mind. You see, your mind itself will say. So then that will feel like I'm not able to hear it. And that's why I've given you the tools to make your self-knowledge apparent to you. And as self-knowledge is apparent to you, you cannot be fooling yourself. It's a bit upside down, our kind of satsang. In most other satsangs, what happens is that everything else leads to the moment of insight. Everything else leads to the moment of insight about your true reality. Here, by God's grace, I'm saying use that insight to wipe out what remains of your conditioning. That insight is made apparent through God's grace. So we can use that insight. Otherwise, in most of the spirituality, it's not possible to say when yourself is apparent to you, then you're in the heart. But that's what that, because in most notions that takes lifetimes to have a instant of self-realization or self-recognition. Here it's so beautiful that I can say this to you. When your true self is apparent to you, then you cannot be under the hypnosis of the mind, and therefore you could not be deluding yourself. It's sounding too sophisticated or something. I feel like it's very straightforward what I'm saying. It's completely absurd, of course, but still straightforward absurd.
Father,
Yeah.
can I ask you about the other thing too, about the control thing?
Yes. Now it will be very difficult because with reference to what we've just discussed,
Yeah.
what will be the question? Also,
Try to invoke a question for later.
in faith, in the depth of faith that we are speaking of, there is no notion really of individual control. So, so any attempt to try and navigate this river called life is a false control. No? I've said often that it's like trying to control the flow of the river with a twig, which we cannot do.
Often in life, it seems like it's not clear what it is to let go of control when we are in the middle of
Yes,
busy activity and trying to get everything right and all those things.
yes. But you have to move rooms to the room that I've showed you. Then the outer busyness can still be there.
Yeah.
But inwardly, you're not trying to control or be right or
Yeah.
succeed or achieve or
Mm.
like that.
And that might even take the form of someone really on top of things and everything.
Or,
Just
or,
not.
or we could be just like become a bumbling fool at work. It's okay. Either
Yeah.
you must not set on that can become like a benchmark,
Yeah,
and
it's not.
if the mind can use and tell you that, see, you're not being super efficient and productive. If you were operating out of heart intelligence, then you would be so beautifully juggling everything. And it doesn't have
Mhm.
to be like that. So even this is about faith. Can we remain in the heart even if we become bumbling fools at work or in relationship or in anything? We go to yoga class and start doing Pilates. Or this is subtle because the mind can also loves that somewhere. I can be then like super rebellious or something. No, it also loves that. But that's not what I'm saying at all. The mind also tries to replicate the words of satsang and say, that, okay, we can do this. Tomorrow onward, I'm just going to make a mess out of everything at work. And you just keep smiling, okay? And then we are sorted. That's not good at all. Just to remain in the great unknown and to allow the presence to navigate everything as it is doing anyway is surrender, is faith. To make exceptions and to say, no, no, for this I need my head. For this I can't afford to go wrong, so I will go to my mind. What is the message in that? The message in that is that when we can't afford for things to go wrong, then why must we go to the lower power?
But in a way, the mind is being used when we are organizing things, planning things, that type of thing. The mind is there, no?
Just check for yourself. Many times you will start to notice also that no, you may send a mail to someone saying, let's meet at 3 o'clock, but you didn't have to think about it. It just came intuitively.
Yeah. And
Is
there is a
is there a is there a theme to satsangs? You see, and you've done a lot of translations and things like this. You notice that there is a theme to satsangs?
theme to satsangs.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
In the sense that I always notice that although there is no plan like that, you see, then but the conversations on a particular day seem to be around similar topics and
Oh,
questions seem
okay.
to be around similar topics and answers also
Yes.
seem to be on the same theme. So
Yes.
independent of the attempt to use tactics and strategies, still things flow in this intelligent way, and that is the intelligence of the heart. You see? And many times it is not linear like the mind's way of intelligence. It is, as I say, symphonic, right? So the notes keep building, but they don't always build in a linear way. So in a symphony, after you hear a lot of it, then you recognize the pattern, but you don't necessarily hear it immediately. So in a way, life is like that. You trust the symphony of life, where it is not understandable in our head, but in our heart we know it is beautiful and it is graceful. So it is not that God is bad at planning. It is not that God is bad at planning. It is just that God's plans are not immediately graspable by our head. And therefore, the head sometimes comes to these mistaken notions of spontaneity and leading a rebellious life and things like that. So, okay, let me try to drill it down into one sentence. Come what may, stay in your heart. That's all I'm saying for this time.
And it's been so. I joined the rest of the sangha from last satsang. It's been so compelling. Your call, Father. Um, yes, it also invites often the second punch, because
Yeah.
you see the contrast between what you ask for and then how often we stray.
And that is very important. Otherwise, it becomes a very complacent sort of spirituality. So, my job, as I've been saying, is to make you uncomfortable now. As long as there are things which can make you uncomfortable, I'm going to do that, because that is what, where our blind spots live. That is where our complacency lives. That is where our pride lives. That is where mental understanding serves as a replacement for heart understanding, but we don't spot that yet.
Yeah.
So, to offer you instructions which only your heart can understand, but your head will get frustrated by, like the invitation to jump without knowing how, without knowing where, just fully jump. Or the invitation to become fully open without knowing how, without knowing what you need to do. I'm so happy that the call is being heard. That means your heart is starting to speak to you so beautifully. Because I was a bit concerned after the first satsang that I didn't get so many tantrums. But when I heard the reports from last week, I was touched by how many heard the call of the heart, which is a true act of faith, isn't it? Uh, because if it is purely absurd and only in the head, then there's no question of frustration, isn't it? If it is just like if I say to you, um, okay, now there's a kangaroo in front of you, just go and offer it some cookies. You will say, okay, this was my last satsang. It will frustrate you. It is clear that, okay, father's bonkers. So, is it? But when I say to you something like I've been saying in satsang, all of these pointers, then your heart immediately hears the call. Your heart hears the call, but your head hates that. You think how, when, where? I've already jumped 3 weeks ago. I saw I'm nobody. You see, so all this resistance can come. And then that is the beautiful friction to burn this fire. These are the rocks which are causing friction, which we need to burn this fire where all the ego can be burned. Otherwise, it can hide very conveniently in Advaita also.
Very conveniently where?
In the words of Advaita,
Yeah.
it can also be very convenient hiding places for the spiritual ego. It is like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, when it is God's will to jump, God will jump. All is God's will anyway. You see, this kind of stuff. So, then I'm saying, no, no, you jump. And I also said something about this for the first time, I feel, in response to something Claudia asked. So, higher than our acceptance of God's will in perception. So, of course, we must accept whatever we are perceiving as God's will. But even higher than that, we must elevate what our heart is guiding us to as God's will.
I don't understand.
Yes. So
Higher
many
than
times
that.
you can feel like, where is the question of jump or become open and empty or anything? If it is going to happen, it will show up here, and that will be what God's will is. You see? So, what is this invitation, this provocation for? So, so when your heart is calling you, you have to value that above all things, even in perception. So, did we share like this? So, um, the realm of perceptions is the changing realm. It is what we call Maya. Now, it is not in the design of Maya to lead you out of Maya. So, it can also become a very convenient Advaita for us to say that, oh, all of this is God's will. You see? But then all of Maya is just God's will and there's no escaping from it. You see? So, what is the escape mechanism from this Maya that is built into Maya? You see? And I'm oversimplifying it. But let's say that God has created this intricate universe, this intricate movie, like a 4D, 5D, whatever D movie this is. And then God is aware that it's so intricate that even God may start to take it to be real for too long. You see, just I'm using a metaphor to try and say what I'm saying. It's not possible for that to happen, but suppose. So then what would God have to do? God would say, okay, let me then create a reminder system for myself, an alarm clock, you see, which then if I'm too involved, you see, if I'm too involved with all of this and suffering is happening and things like that, I'm taking myself to be this limited entity here, then let there be an appearance of something which is directly connected to the heart of the truth and serves as a reminder for us to wake up. You see? So, although in the design of this play, nothing is meant to take you out of the play, it is meant to perpetuate the play. You see? Then God has also created the alarm clocks in the form of masters, sages, masters, teachers, whatever you want to call them, who will relentlessly ask you to wake up. You see? And something in you, the reality, let's call it a memory momentarily, the memory of your reality, the memory of the remembrance that you are God itself, starts to resonate with that alarm clock. You see? So, in this way, then within the realm of Maya, we come across something that leads us to that which is beyond Maya. Otherwise, Maya in its own design is not meant to do that. You see? So, if we say that uh, everything that happens here is God's will, which it is, you see, Guru Kripa Kevalam, but we use that as an excuse to not listen to the master and not listen to our heart, you see, then Maya has got us. So higher than conveying that the play of this world is also God's Leela and operating in God's will, we must learn to jump at God's call within your heart, whether you hear it in the form of the master or you hear it within your heart. See? And not put it under some Advaita like, oh, when it's meant to happen, it'll happen. Who am
Is
I to do anything?
is that another way of saying that everything that manifests is and it's God's will and it's okay, but accept that manifestation can flow through what we call ourselves through this body as well, and then that needs to be heard too. Is that what you're saying?
No, not really. The manifestation, like the body is as much part of the dream as much as the rest of the dream. So let's not presume that some part of the dream is coming from this body, that body. The whole dream comes from being. The whole
Mm-hmm.
dream happens on the screen of consciousness itself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no question of individuality there. But
Mm-hmm.
having said that, consciousness playing in this way as if it is the central character in the dream, you see, can use all this conceptual knowledge also to avoid waking up from the dream. So that knowledge which is meant to serve as a balm from the suffering in the human condition, where we say, yes, trust all of this because it is Maya firstly, therefore not real and cannot hurt you. And whatever even happens in the realm of Maya is happening with the intelligence of God. See? So that serves as a balming sort of feeling to us. So it gives us a reassurance that we are not abandoned. But many times, like everything in the world, everything has the pros and the cons. So if we start using these pointers to then say, oh yes, so then why should I inquire when it is meant to happen? Then I'll inquire. Why
Okay.
should I be open and empty? Let me be closed and full. And then when God wants me to be open, I'll be open. So it becomes like an avoidance. And that is why I'm saying that treat everything that you perceive as God's will. But even higher than that, treat the guidance that you are getting from your heart.
Yeah.
Then you cannot rely on any conceptual spiritual knowledge. Your spiritual encyclopedia will not become a spiritual ego if you continue to follow your heart guidance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, very quickly, like Ravan, we can say, why should I bow down to Ram? Because I have learned that all is one. If he is God, then so am I. That is the misuse of spiritual knowledge.
Mm. Yeah, it's like putting misinterpretations of what we heard before the actual voice of God in our hearts.
Yeah. And actually, to not recognize that any pointer cannot capture the entirety of it. Any set of words is limited. And to take
Yeah.
a set of words which are limited to be an absolute truth is a
Yeah.
mistake. And that's why Guruji says, don't make tattoos out of my words.
Yeah.
See, because they are pointing for the moment, they are best applied. But when that is being pointed to you from your heart, and the instrument which your heart is using at the moment, which is the outer appearing master.
Yeah.
So to take conceptual ideas to capture the mind of God, in a sense, to presume that is a fallacy, is a folly. So therefore, if you were to say, okay, now what am I really guiding to? What am I really saying in Satsang? And you know this well, that I can't really have an answer to that. It just has to be moment to moment. It just has to be from what is appearing in my heart to say at that particular moment. It cannot be made into a template or a system. The only reason we make these broad sweeping sort of systems like the way of the heart, then there's insight, and then there is faith, just to give you some broad framework. You see? Just to give you some broad framework. But if you become over systematic, then that will be a disservice. Then we are trying to create a new religion which we don't need to. The aliveness of the way, the aliveness of the heart must be kept fresh. And that is why satsang in this way is powerful. Because then we don't have to um, be careful about not contradicting, you see, making sort of a linear philosophy. No, just one moment left, one moment right. Maybe just left, right, left, right. Don't know. And in India, it's famous that you have masters who will get upset with you if they have said, now go left, and you're going left, and they will get upset with you and say, I told you to go right, why are you going left? So what does that squeeze? What does that frustrate? It's like a living Zen koan. Living Zen koan. So all masters, as harsh or as soft as their expression may seem, will always have this quality to confuse the intellect completely. If they're not doing that, then they're not pointing to the way of the heart. There's some other project. To take you beyond your rationality is the main project here.
That you are doing, Father.
Yes. And I'm happy you continue to show up. All of us will become a true Sangha when we keep showing up, but we don't know why.
Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I feel like I've said everything actually. There's someone I haven't met. Let me speak to. Can I speak with Batul? How do you pronounce my dear? Am I messing it up?
Namaste. Um, Thank you so much, and all gratitude to Guruji grace, which allow us to gathering like this.
Yes, yes.
Sorry for my simple English.
Don't worry. It's very
I don't know what to say exactly. Actually, I feel also my heart beating.
yeah. So take your time.
Like that.
There's no rush at all. Take your time. Feel completely at home. Allow it to unfold very naturally as it will. Whatever time it needs is fine. Let me just for a moment mute everyone again. Okay, and now I'm going to ask you to unmute again.
It's okay now.
Yes, perfect.
Just I felt to take this opportunity to expose what is there now.
Yes.
Um, all what it is by grace and unavoidably attracting me to the truth,
Yes.
to this full yesness,
Yes. Yes.
to say yes fully
Very
to this. And gradually I'm noticing that what is there in the realm of the mind become losing its potency,
yes.
even if it is still showing up, but I cannot believe it anymore.
Very good. Very good.
All the fears and desires still coming in different shapes,
Yes.
and I complete looking at it, and I see how it is false, and just by looking why it is there, just becomes so clear it is habit, pure habit. It's nothing at
Yeah.
all.
Very good. Very good.
one time I saw one was talking to Papaji and he said to him, Papaji, be my last Papa.
Yes.
And I feel it completely to, like, all my heart saying it to Guruji,
Yes.
be my last Papa.
Yes. Yes.
Let it be in this life. Let it be now.
Yes.
And it is. A lot of things changing, become more truthful and more peaceful. And it is clear that it is in front, this changing happening in front what is unchanging. So it make all changing okay, beautiful, thank you, but it's not itself important, let's say.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
But this fire inside and outside, just all the time calling, come, know this, and just remain in this, remain it, and cannot just to say yes. I don't know. Sometimes I feel the mind also want to not suffer anymore, to get rid of itself, but to finish it now, all tendencies, all habits, all that. This is seen in front of something more pure, which is saying yes out of love or this truth, love to be true, and to not believe the anymore, the lies anymore. Always things come like discovering that still something hidden here or there, and by grace it is exposing gradually. And yes, I felt to expose to maybe something also still can be exposed now, or have some instruction to me. And thank you so much.
Very beautiful. I want to say first that it's such a joy to hear heart-soaked words. Words that are soaked in the heart, they carry their own fragrance, and it's so beautiful to hear them. So thank you firstly.
Thank you.
Very, very beautiful. I feel like there's hardly anything left to say to you, but we're just coming to say to, can you risk something? Risk in this, the next part of what you say, take a risk. Like, do something dangerous, say something dangerous. Which your mind would hate or just not want to expose or something. Just dive into something deeper.
Okay. Okay. I'm lazy one. Yeah, and always postponing things to do it. And
What would you not do for God?
sorry.
If God came in front of you right now and said, you have to do this, what would you hesitate to do, if not do?
If sorry to make sure that I understand the question, if God came now and asked me to do something, and I will hesitate to do it,
Yes.
what it will be?
Yes.
It's always I felt like if anything I feel I have to do to go fully in the truth, I will do it.
Very,
I have this feeling, but I don't know if there is something.
very good. So if God came to you right now and said, tell the funniest joke that you know in front of all these Sangha members, would you do it? You're starting small. You're starting small.
Yeah,
Okay, tell us.
funniest joke.
Or silliest joke. It doesn't have to be funny. So it can be like super silly.
Okay, I'm trying to remember any joke.
What is the silliest thing you've ever done?
Silliest thing
Yes.
that
You have ever done, you feel.
okay. Silly, it's mean ridiculous or something
Yes,
like
yes, something like this. Something.
Actually, I feel the most silly things when I try to defend myself.
To defend yourself.
To defend myself, yes.
Ah,
Personally, and as if it is real or as if I will die if I become the fault or the loser in the talk. No,
ah,
this happens still until now sometimes, and even during the talk, I feel what is this, but it's
yes.
really continue because it started, so
Yeah.
how to continue. I feel it's the most ridiculous thing. This happened with the people who are close to me,
Yes. Yes.
my family and my friend also. the, the best friend, let's say.
That's sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
This what came. Of course, there's many of ridiculous things.
Good of you to share like this in your first time coming up. So.
Actually, I was with you last week.
I see.
This was first time,
I see. I see.
and I'm so happy to be in this place.
Very good. All my blessings, all my love, and thank you for the report. It has really touched my heart.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course, man. Please.
I want to thank the whole Sangha around the world. Actually, it's something very, very, very precious. And I'm here in Paris. There is many of wonderful Sangha members, and I thank Etienne. He's with us.
Who? Say the name again.
Etienne.
Yeah, good. Yes.
Yeah. Just very beautiful work. So thank you.
Very good. I'm so happy to hear. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from one or two because I can see that something's been pulling into silence. So who haven't I heard from in a bit? Let's go to Georg.
Hello, Father.
Hello.
I don't know actually concretely why I come.
Yes.
I was so touched 2 satsangs ago when you asked us to jump.
Yes.
So deeply touched. I don't know why. There's such a longing to jump. And yes, and after that, a great turmoil is now inside.
Come on. Yes.
Turmoil, yeah, like, or is it tantrum? I don't know what tantrum is, but is it that? Yeah, and then this. You also said when we jump, there's a hand. You hold us, because sometimes it's so scary. And I don't know if we shouldn't say from history or so. But this, maybe I mention it, and if it's bullshit, then it's bullshit. But my father he was a very good example in many things, but not, he ended his life, and I was very young, and we all 3 brothers, and
Take it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. Take as much time as you need, and I'm completely with you.
Yes, and I also feel to say, can you bless also my brothers and my mother and my son, my uncle? Yeah, and the whole world, of course. Please. And there's sometimes that's why. And you said faith and trust, but also you hold our hand, because sometimes it gets so scary, and then I understand why my father did it. I can understand then. But otherwise, yeah, what may come, what come, as I can, as much faith I have, but your words were so full of love, and they are heard from many of us, I feel. I love you so much, Father.
This is the beautiful thing. The request is to jump. The reassurance is that I've got you. The reassurance only your heart knows. Your head cannot know. That is why such a leap of faith. But thank you. Thank you for this report. It really touches my heart that it's been met so deeply. So glad that it's also providing me such fuel for all of this to burn and to be released. So this is very good. You're getting the exact vibration of what the feeling behind sharing those words were. And that has been the feeling for a few weeks, to shake us out of a sort of complacent spirituality into a living, real relationship with God.
Yeah.
And that the call is being heard in this way.
And I also exposed something, because I feel also this the other side, when it's going well, I'm easily going then, I'm so great, and all this is yeah, this is the other side. And then, so like I continue the circle all by myself.
Yes. Yes. My biggest nemesis, so to speak, where that is concerned, is the spiritual pride. Is it?
Yeah.
With the worldly pride, I feel like most of you will not get stuck for too long in. But when the words of Satsang itself become the defenses for the ego, and it doesn't allow me to maneuver, become very stiff with spiritual understanding, that has been, I've seen my nemesis in some ways, like arch enemy, so to speak. So if it is some things in the world and things, I'm not really concerned. But when I notice, if any of you start becoming very mentally spiritual or something, then I sort of drop that very fast. But some of this minor adventures in the world. Of course, I'm saying stay in the heart completely, but as they happen, those don't concern me as much. I feel you'll be fine. I feel you'll be fine.
I don't see you, Father, now.
Yes, because now you should be able to.
Okay.
Very touched today with our satsang so far and with the reports.
Thank you.
Love to you and your full family, and I'm there with you one day.
Thank you very much.
Maybe one last one for today, and it has to be the almost birthday boy. Advaita's birthday was when? 2 days back. Hello.
Namaste. Hi, Ananta-ji.
Hello, my love.
Ah, yeah, it's
Do
really
the
good that you called me as well, because I haven't been live on Satsang for a while. I've been always listening
yes.
later, 2 or 3 days later, and was also very touched by these Satsangs where it's he said to jump and yeah. There were times where I just didn't understand what is going on a bit, and didn't make sense. But then you said it's not supposed to make sense, and it also resonates. But yes, it's true. When yeah, that's why there's no really question this time. It's just I don't know. Something maybe somewhere has to happen. Yeah. So
This is it. This is now become a two-way absence of conceptual understanding, but I hear you so well in my heart.
Mhm.
I have a complete sense of what you're saying in my heart. But if you were to ask me, so what are the words? How can you explain what I'm saying? I don't know.
Mhm.
So, I know that in hearing the words from here and feeling the presence of satsang, something is being met at a different level, and we're all recognizing that, or most of us are recognizing that, but we may not have the words to explain, or what we're recognizing is too broad for words to actually capture in some coherent way. So I'm very happy to hear this report, and I'm very glad that this sort of the Sangha is at such a point, and there's so much love and faith that pointers that rationality cannot grasp are being met in the heart so beautifully. So I'm very touched by this as well. So, and
also just this felt yeah, and just felt to also come to India maybe next year, beginning of next year. I don't know. Hopefully.
very welcome. We'll be very happy. Very happy if you come. Very good. I'm sure you know enough now in the Sangha, and if you need some help, you can always write. We'll help with this. I'm sure you don't want to stay in the same house you were staying for long. We'll find a way.
Thank you, Ananta.
Thank you. I didn't want to get birthday wishes to come in the way of your report. So, but accept my full blessing and love on your birthday, and from all of us here, we're wishing you deeply in our heart. And this is very good news. If you can come early next year, we're very happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel enough has been spoken today, and even if I wanted to speak more, I feel the body is just like done. So, hope all of you will forgive me for this, not taking your questions, and we're meeting soon anyway. So, play some buttons and close this for today.
ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकं कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपः चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगत ईषदी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृत् देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चमन्दतः चित्तजं जपध्यानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया श्रोतसासमम् सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परम् भेदभावनात् सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिधा पावनीमता भावशून्य सद्भावसुस्थितिः भावना बलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृत्स्थले मनः स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोग बोधाश्च निश्चितम् वायुरोधना लीयते मनः जालपक्षिव द्रोणसाधनम् चित्तवायवः चित्क्रियायुधाः शाकयोधये शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनः भवति नो मृतम् प्राणबन्धना लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तना नासमेत्यदः नष्टमानसोत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किम् स्वस्तितिं यतः दृश्यवारितं
मार्गार्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मनः अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वतः ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनासभाज्यहमहन्तया स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णसत् इदमहं पदाभिज्ञमन्वहम् अहमिलीनकेऽप्यलयसत्तया विग्रहेन्द्रिया प्राणधीतमः नाहमेकसत्तज्जडं ह्यसत् सत्त्वभासिका चित्त्वरेतरा सत्तया हि चेत् चित्तया ह्यहम् ईशजीवयोर्वेषधीभिदा सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् देशहानतः स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपतः आत्मसंस्थितिः स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनित्वयात् आत्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता अज्ञानहीन चिज्ञानम् अस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपम् इत्यात्मदर्शने अव्यया भवा पूर्णचित्सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखम् विन्दतीह श्रीवस्तु दैविकः अहमवेदकम् निजविभानकम् महदिदं तपो रमणवागियम् अहमवेदकम् निजविभानकम् महदिदं तपो रमणवागियम्
Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Sri Muji Baba ki Guru Kripa Keval. Helena and this question, no? That if there is something that I really don't want to do, does that mean I have to do it? No, you don't have to do it unless you are guided by your Sadguru in your heart. It is not that kind of a project. Only if you receive clear guidance that something should be done. Yes.